wish more than anything it was him sitting here, not me, and then no one would have to write this letter.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another movie night. I'm Jacqui, and today we are watching Masters of the Air Episode 5. We left on a misdirect. They literally said that Crosby went down. Crosby is the narrator of the series. Sorry guys, you gave yourselves away. Bucky has now gotten himself pitching in the starting lineup for the next mission, and we are setting ourselves up. They've done a really great job narratively of setting up what I think is going to happen in this episode or could happen going forward. Because again, those pieces are there, that those bits of foreshadowing are absolutely there. Things like just in the last episode trying to survive 25 missions, etc. And them saying, I'm at 21, just stay alive. That's some uncomfortable foreshadowing. Again, things like mentioning that Crosby went down when we know he's the narrator, so there's no way they're actually dead. But then the hints dropped of these other men who were down and what has happened to them trying to get back and what will likely happen to anyone that does go down. There's a lot of bits of foreshadowing, and just because I can potentially guess what the general situation is gonna potentially be, I have no idea what that's going to look like, and I'm terrified. I'm terrified because I'm just, crying constantly. I have tissues. We're ready. This is happening. It's going to happen. It's going to be great. But on that note, we are going to get into episode 5. As always, please don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it. Drop me a comment. Let me know your thoughts on this episode, on this series, and of course on the sort of trilogy of Band of Brothers, Masters of the Air, and the Pacific. I am currently watching the Pacific on Patreon, so if you're watching this on YouTube and you want to check that out, it is available. Redder is better, so hit what may or may not be a big red subscribe button, depending on your browser, and check me out on Patreon for the full-length version of this reaction, as well as all of my other content. Links to my Instagram and other socials are in the description box below, so with all of that out of the way, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate all of you, and let's get into Masters of the Air, Episode 5.
Hello?
This poor kid. The amount of guilt that he must feel.
Colonel Harding's looking for you. You okay, Major? We're all gonna miss Major Clevin, sir.
It's interesting considering...
I'll be all right.
You sure, sir?
Don't worry, Kenny. I don't even feel it.
Oh, that's literally what I was about to say! Oh dear, yeah. No, I was literally about to say, because I think it was episode 1 or episode 2 where he's standing on the wings with Kurt, drunk, and asks, do you feel anything?
It was the toughest mission of the war for me. It was the heaviest flak I'd ever experienced.
Frickin' narrator!
A shell fragment the size of a football nearly decapitating me and Douglas. And we lost all electrical power. But somehow Ev Blakely got us back to England.
Oh.
I also saw Major Clevin's plane take a direct hit and go down.
Oh, right, they weren't on the same plane. Okay, got it.
We thought he was invincible. If Gail Clevin couldn't make it, who could?
Yeah. I didn't even just make it past episode 4. But they were kind of smart, actually, by casting a bigger name like Barry Keoghan and killing him off in episode 3. It's that kind of sort of Game of Thrones establishing nobody is safe.
Can we help you?
You can start by getting the hell out of Iraq. Where's my locker? Huh?
We thought you weren't coming back?
You didn't, ship my locker already, did you?
No, sir. It's still in the orderly hut.
I need a drink.
Is it like the World War II equivalent of, can you delete my browser history, please?
What the hell you got in your locker you're so worried about?
I got more fucking rubbers than I can count. I sure as hell don't need my mom to count them, huh?
Yep.
Where'd you land?
Some RAF field outside of Ludham. It was a hell of a hairy belly landing.
Say that again.
2 engine shot, whole fuselage full of holes.
Yeah, some Brit mechanic counted them all. How much was it? 1,200?
1,200.
Don't worry, the brakes still worked. Till we hit the runway.
Goddamn miracle that this man landed her at all.
Miracle was Cros's bearing. 1 degree off, and we're in the drink.
Pure luck.
Attaboy,
He managed to
kid.
navigate us right smack into the only tree for miles.
The only tree in East Anglia.
The biggest field you've ever seen in your life.
Harry Crosby, greatest navigator in the 8th Air Force. Right over there, ladies.
All right, who's drinking?
I love the development of that story. I love the growth of his navigational skills and him as a navigator and overcoming air sickness. Like, that's a great little through line.
Believe this. You know, I wrote Jean.
You what?
I wrote your wife a letter. We all thought you...
You didn't send it, did you?
No.
Ooh, Jesus. That's worse than a browser history.
Couldn't think of anything nice to say, so...
Billy Cross. Artie wants to see you.
Hey, it's Egan. What's he doing back there?
Crosby looks like he's lost weight. He doesn't have quite as much baby face as he did at the very beginning, which makes sense.
No use wondering, gentlemen. You can all do the math as to why I came back early.
Jesus, another mission.
We're flying every day now.
Abbott and Costello. Oh, I love that. We're following the light through every single room and every single group. That's such a great transition.
Crosby's just been promoted to group navigator.
Welcome to the monkey house, Captain.
Thank you.
Spence will have navigation field orders for you.
Tell the clerk what you need.
God damn it!
Sorry.
Oh, a lot of little chaos is happening in this scene.
You sure I'm the right man for this?
No.
The fact that you're questioning it means that you are.
Sergeant, I need you.
Oh, that was the strangest and most abrupt ending to a cold open that we've had. That was administrative chaos instead of flight chaos. Huh. He looked a little fish out of water there. Yeah, just to sort of reiterate, I don't think that Buck is dead. I genuinely don't. That being said, the fact that they did the... I hate to say the Game of Thrones thing, but that is sort of the biggest precedent that was set of killing off a relatively big-name actor early on by killing Barry Keoghan, who is a fairly well-known actor at this point. It does establish nobody is safe. So, I've said it, they're good at the drama on this, but part of drama is misdirection. If it's a misdirect, they're doing it really well. I have to give so much credit to that.
Your primary target is Munster. The target is just east of the city center.
City center.
Oh dear, civilians. Oh dear. Oh dear.
So, accuracy on this mission is paramount.
Yes.
The railroad workers, so if they're hit, then we'll be hitting the men who keep the German railroads running.
Still civilian casualties, but...
Good news is it's a short flight. Munster is pretty damn close.
Bad news?
Bad news is we can only muster 17 ships, few of which weren't even ours 2 days ago.
These odds are just getting more and more dire with every episode.
We just flew 2 missions in 2 days. Aren't they supposed to rotate the squadrons? Let one have a mission off?
There aren't
Who
enough
else
of
they
you
got?
left. Yeah, exactly. God, that's... They keep... Yeah, no, this is building and this is... Yeah, no, this is...
Sunday. You saw how close that cathedral is to the MPI. We're hitting it right when everyone's coming out of Mass. And not just railroad workers, either.
They're all part of it.
You never had a target this close to the city center
Jesus
before.
Christ, Frank. It's a war.
It's a war and you have orders. Yeah.
Better now before every fucking guy we've ever shared a bunk with is either dead or MIA.
None of the people we get a bomb today shot down Buck.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody said it. Yep. Yeah.
You flying today or not?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yep, the stakes and the casualties keep getting higher.
I wanted to make sure all the navigators have what they need.
Aw, lucky Snow
Well, I
Globe.
prefer unconditional surrender from the Krauts, but this'll do.
Hey, stop the truck!
Why?
You got a straight jacket.
What?
Give me your jacket.
You serious?
Superstition? Percussion for tension.
What's the name of the plane they're putting us in?
Royal Flush.
Royal Flush.
All right, it's a winning hand. In theory, or an ironic name for a plane that's about to go down. I don't like all this foreshadowing.
Got it from Framlingham yesterday, but it'll fly, at least that far.
That makes me feel better.
Stop saying things that make me nervous with forking ticking in the background. God. Ugh. These freaking drums. Heart rate, my blood pressure going up. Ha! Oh, that's funny and sad and oh, the hits.
Trade in your sheepskin, Major?
Buck always hated that jacket.
Tribute, superstition, a little bit of both. These forking drums. Blake Neely, you are a sadist and a master, and I simultaneously love and hate you for it. And just got the whirring of the propellers on top of it. God. I'm drawing out every single second. God, these GoPro shots, I keep calling them the GoPro shots. They remind me of the sort of Top Gun GoPro shots, but they are just... I'm just showing each and every one and drawing it out, and oh my God, they hate us. They hate us. They hate us. They absolutely, oh my God. They hate us. They're trying to torture us. Fucking shaking right now. It's just a building and it's pretending it's getting louder and it's getting worse. I don't like it. Oh, he's crying. Oh, he's looking out the window the way that Buck used to, but on the opposite side. Oh, through the window. Oh, that was cool. This is so pretty. This is so cool. I love the cinematography. Oh my God, I'm nerding, and I'm nervous. I'm a nervous nerd right now. Very nervous nerd right now.
The hardest part of any mission was the anticipation.
Ha! He says after an entire scene of drawing out so much anticipation, I'm gonna...
After Wheels Up, there was nothing I could do.
This is so fucking gorgeous. Terrifying and horrifying. It's so good and I hate it. There's such a love-hate relationship with this right now. Well, we can tell where their CG budget went. It went into these episodes.
So does that make 3 or 4 we've lost? I've lost count, over.
4 aborts, Major, which leaves us with 13 ships.
Shit.
These odds are just getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse.
Hey, Johnny. Maybe it's time to get down to the nose and man that third gun, all right? Christ, I thought he'd never leave.
He's my co-pilot. He's just making sure you don't blow up my ship.
Backseat pilot. Goes around, comes around.
You okay back there? The oxygen's okay. Keep your mag feeder clear there. Just collect the breath.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh no.
Turn up to the bulkhead. Alright, check your guns. Guns are set. All good? Yeah, roger. Guns are set.
I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like this long take, pulling pins on bombs and then rotating to guns. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it.
Jesus! How much coffee did you have this morning? Bombs away! Okay, boys, I'm heading in. All right.
Different kind of bomb. Gross. But yeah, you know. all I can think about right now is Babyface. We're seeing so much of the planes. Previously up to this point, we really only saw wide shots and close-ups on the men. We haven't seen a lot of specific shots of the planes as much as we have this episode. This is interesting. I think it's a different director than we had previously, so that would make sense.
Hey! Have I ever told you I fucking hate flak? Not today!
Not today. Not today. What do we say to the god of death? Who got hit?
Harry! Harry, no!
Lead pilot to crew, we good back there?
Over. Fucking face is blown off!
Christ.
Harry, don't you die on me! Breathe!
Oh god, it's gonna have his blood all over it. Oh my god.
Shut off the gas and fan him.
Glenn's dead.
Oh my god, his face is covered in his friend's blood. Why would... Oh my... Got the ticking. Very subtle in the background. Got the ticking.
Flak slowing down, boys. Keep your eyes peeled. Fighters probably all around us.
Yeah, we're seeing so much more piece shots of the planes. What the hell?
Jesus. Fighters 12 o'clock. Must be hundreds of those bastards.
For 11 of you? Oh my god. God, this violin. This horrifying suspense lacrimosa violin.
We're maintaining speed! Yeah, just. We can make it to the target.
We're not making it back, though. Come on, just get us there. Just get us there. Jesus. Oh my god, the shells on the floor.
Lead pilot to nose. What's going on down there? We got bombs to drop. Right. Engine 4's done.
Oh my god.
Down to one engine. I'm almost hit bad. Fuck! Hit the bailout valve.
You're bailing over German territory.
Destroy the bomb site. Shoot it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Too valuable.
We gotta get out of here now. Let's go. He should be buried.
We have to get Harry down.
Honey. Oh. Oh! Oh god, what is he stuck on? Oh my god, he got caught on the handle. Oh god, please don't happen what I think is about to happen. Please don't. Oh my god. Like a sickening fear he was gonna get sucked into the propeller or something. The last episode was called Foreshadowing. This one's called Suspense Music.
Brady, I'm the senior officer now. Jump! It's my ship. You jump.
Oh dear.
All right. I'll see you, John.
This is...
Get the bitches!
Dick move. Don't shoot at the parachutes. Trying not to nerd out so much about how that whole sequence was shot. We have mournful strings. We went from suspense strings to mournful strings.
Bombardier to pilot. Now? Not until the lead drops. Now? Hold.
Don't say things like hold with suspense music playing. You gotta drop it.
There they go. Right on target.
You did your job. Well done.
Flash incoming.
Oh, Jesus! Oh, my God.
De Blasio's
hit out of the tail. There's a lot of bump, but I think he's okay.
Good on you for staying calm. Oh, my God. I don't know this man's name. I'm gonna call him Blue Eyes because Blue Eyes, but he has the sort of buck calmness to him. I don't like the quiet. Oh dear. This is so much worse than the other music.
Enemy fight.
I was like, why is that making me feel way more suspenseful than the actual music? Oh, get out of the way, get out of the way! Oh, that was close.
I see parachutes! Rocket incoming, Silver!
Holy shit, there's a hole in the wing!
Oh, damn.
Christ, she just lost the high lead and she's gonna... Tail, ball turn, any shoot. I don't see any.
Hit by debris. Oh my God. Please don't show me a body or something fly. Please don't. It almost felt like slow motion, but it wasn't. But they felt like them falling through the air almost looked like they were floating down underwater or something.
Pilot to crew. Does anyone see any other ships from the hundreds?
Top turret to pilot, negative.
Are they alone?
Nose negative. Tail to pilot, negative. Right waist gunner, negative.
They're the only ones left.
Hold on, everybody.
That was actual slow motion. It's the first time we've seen actual slow-mo like that. Just making eye contact with a guy that's trying to shoot you down. My God. Yeah, this is personal. Yeah, this is personal. This is mano a mano.
Nice shot, Gilbert. Stay sharp, guys. They're not giving up yet.
This music. Yeah, this is where their budget went. Yeah, we needed the break in the chaos. It was a lot. We needed to cut the tension at some point.
Straight ahead! Take maneuvers!
12 o'clock level.
Open fire!
He's got a heart pendant. It's a locket. Never noticed that before.
I hear them.
Not ours.
What?
390th aircraft turning onto the approach track. Do you know where my group is landing?
This is concerningly quiet. Why are we not hearing the other side of this call?
Where are our boys, Chick?
All gone.
He said none of them made it.
This is where their budget went. This episode is where their budget went. Yeah, yeah. Yep. This is definitely a different director or cinematographer. This constant freaking ticking in my ear.
Nice and easy. You get your legs first. You got your head. When he gets you home, Lauren.
after interrogation. Later, Kenny.
All of them?
Literally all of them.
Fucking it! It's the last fucking time I'm going up. They can't make me go up again.
Tail 230-823, invading Maiden. That's Walt's crew. Tail 230-047, Sweater Girl. It's with Atchinson's crew.
No record. They got hit by a rocket early on. It was on fire for a minute or two.
Bubbles Payne. Navigate it.
No record.
I saw them. They were on fire and then they just blew up.
So much for the Lucky Slug.
Tail 23237, slightly dangerous. Thompson's crew.
So the letter he wrote saying that Crosby went down.
You know this already, but your husband was the best friend I ever had. He was also the best navigator I ever met, even though he was too humble to admit it to himself. It takes a special kind of courage for a man to stay modest, surrounded by bluster and blowhards in every direction, but that was Cross. I wish, more than anything, it was him sitting here and not me. And then no one would have to write this letter.
God, that was the moment from the opening I was afraid to see. Baby Crosby crying. I said it in Band of Brothers. I was afraid of that shot of Neil McDonough from the opening, and this was my shot of Crosby crying that... I have so much to say about this episode. So much to say about this episode. As I have said from the beginning, this show really likes to draw out tension and build up emotion, and it is all about build up, and it doesn't just do that in the individual scenes and in the individual moments. That is, I'm coming to realize the tone of the entire series, which fits, and it makes sense. That is good writing when the overarching tone is reflected in the individual scenes and vice versa. And the series has progressed really, really well. And I know I said this as I was watching, and I want to try to go into it a little bit more specifically about how I've seen a lot of comments from people that this series has gotten better the longer they watch. The more they get into it, the further it goes, the better it gets. And I really do believe that a lot of that has to do with the development. This isn't like Band of Brothers, where we spend an entire episode in training with these men and we bond with them immediately and then go into the trenches with them. This has developed much more slowly, but it also is different in the sense that we physically can't follow all of the same men. We have a few characters that we follow consistently, but we're on episode 5, and how many have we lost already? The fact that this division has such high casualties, it has to be a different experience. It has to be a completely different experience. And there's not a whole lot of variety in these attacks, in being in air battles and having flak and having fighters coming at you. There really is only so much diversity you can have in the way that you do those scenes, in the way that you show them. Whereas, again, something like Band of Brothers, they had a town that they were taking, and then they had trenches they were going through. There were so many different scenarios that each episode found a way to show these battles in different and interesting ways. And Band of Brothers took it in a way that each episode was a different perspective. So that's what kind of kept it fresh. And this, I think, had a massive challenge in trying to do that with air battles, and that there really isn't a whole lot of variation in what happens. It's different. People get hit. Obviously, there are certain different things that you can show, but the general sequence of flak, dogfight, plane goes down, like, you have to get incredibly creative to keep that fresh and interesting multiple episodes in a row. And so we've seen quite a bit of those. I think when they changed the tone in the last episode of we're seeing from the civilian perspective and we're seeing from the ground crew's perspective, that helped a lot. I'm trying to go back to the episodes where, like, the first few air fights we saw, we didn't lose too many people, and then the casualties started getting bigger. And as this series has progressed, the stakes and the casualties have gotten higher. We are establishing that the further these men go, the less likely they are to come back, but they have built it. And obviously this is history. This is based on history. But the way that they've structured and written the series is that with every episode, things get worse. And so we get to episode 5, we're at the halfway point in the series, and we now have nobody came back, almost. Whereas up to this point, it was 8 forts went down. We lost 8 out of 21 or however many it was. We still had people coming back, and the fact that this midpoint is quite literally no one came back. We lost everyone. And I have a feeling the next episode is very much going to be the fallout of that, or that's going to be sort of the arc of the third act of the series, is what happens to these men when they've gone down, because that's what's happened over the last 2 episodes. In the last episode, in this episode, all we've established is that all of these planes have gone down. We saw Bucky on the ground, and you know that a lot of them have been on the ground, and so it makes me curious for the rest of them that we saw in the last episode. What happened to them? Where are they? We're moving into this next phase of the series where we've been building, and then this is the crash, and now we have fallout, and we have to experience fallout, and we have to experience the other side of what can happen to these men. The writing on this, there has been so much foreshadowing. There have been so many pieces and elements that they've given us that they are starting to give payoff on. And I really do agree that the longer you watch, the better it gets. But as far as the technical side of this episode, I need to check. I actually want to see. Hang on. Let me look at this. All right. So the director... Yes. All right. I was right. So it was a different director. I was right. So Cary Fukunaga directed the first 4, and episode 5 was directed by Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck. I was right. I called it. They were different directors. Oh, yes. You can tell. You can tell. All right. Who are the DPs? I want to see who are the DPs. All right. Who? So Jacques Fitzgerald was the DP on episode 5. They were different cinematographers. Okay. All right. Sorry. I had to look that up because it was driving me crazy. The entire time I'm watching this, I'm like, okay, the first 4 episodes, aesthetically and visually and cinematographically, whatever that word is, were very consistent. And this felt so different. This just visually was so different. As much as it was sort of tonally different in the way that Act 2 is, it was so visually different. And I'm sitting here going, this has to be a different director. This has to be a different cinematographer. It was. Cary Fukunaga directed the first 4, and we had 2 directors for this one. We had different directors for this one and different cinematographers. Yes, absolutely. This was shot so differently. So just from a visual perspective, the things I noticed were the way, for instance, that the planes were shot, that the battles were shot, was completely different. And again, speaking of ways to keep things fresh, bringing in different creatives who will give their own unique perspective and their own unique way of shooting it, you'll automatically feel the difference, even if you can't vocalize it, even if you can't consciously understand why it feels differently, unconsciously you do. And a huge difference in this one was the creatives, because they shot the planes in a completely different way. One thing that I noticed constantly in the first 4 episodes was the main style of shooting these aerial battles was we would be in the plane, either close up or with the men, or we'd be in wide shots. That was kind of, we went back and forth between those two. And I think that was effective because it was either up close and personal and then seeing what they're seeing. And so I think that was absolutely a great way to do it. But in this one, we saw so many more shots of parts of the plane. When they were taking off, we held on the wing. We held on the back, this thing that I can't think of what it's called right now. But in the air battles, we focused on the turret underneath. We saw it moving a lot more. We kept cutting back to it. We kept seeing shots of bits and pieces in a way that we haven't in this series up to this point. And again, neither is better or worse, but it's different. And the way that they shot this, there was just so much more detail and intimacy in this battle, and that makes sense because we have the most casualties here. This is the most intense. We're losing the most people, and so it's going to need to be different and bigger and more intense and more drawn out. And having shots like the slow-mo, we haven't seen slow-mo up to this point, and having this shot where, what's his name? Literally, this plane flies by, and you have this slow motion shot where he's essentially making eye contact with this German pilot, and the sort of intimacy of it was just different. And yeah, different director, different cinematographer. Also, Blake Neely, you are a wonderful, glorious, talented, incredible sadist. I'm pretty sure this episode raised my blood pressure significantly and my heart rate. My God. Again, this is something I've talked about so many times. I've talked about many times in the course of this series. I've talked about this a lot in The Last of Us because The Last of Us did this really, really well, is the way that you use tempo and the way that you use ticking and buildup of noise like that for suspense. That's something that if you've seen Dunkirk, Christopher Nolan did a lot in Dunkirk, was the constant ticking noise. We saw so much of that. I don't think at any time there was music in this episode. There was not a single moment where we didn't have some sort of intense pulsing happening. Whether it was a drum, whether it was an outright ticking, it was always constantly there. And we would get these swells of other bits of the music. It would come up and it would come down. But that was constantly there, and it would build and build and build and build and build. And it just gets you so freaked out. And then we had new sounds in this that we haven't had before. The violin that they used in this was so eerie. It's that almost screech. It's not a screech, but it makes me think of Lacrimosa. I can't describe it well. I'd have to pull up a clip or something of it. But that eerie draw of the bow across the strings where it's almost grating. It's almost screeching, but it's not. And it's just haunting, and using bits like that for these scenes like this, just it added a completely different tone to it, and we just had strings in a way that I haven't noticed before, and so it added new layers. It just is a way that most audience members wouldn't consciously notice, but that makes these different, that gives you a completely different feeling and a completely different perspective on something you've seen many times. So again, I was nerding out so much over this. This was just such a unique treat to watch, and it was so different, and it was something that I loved sort of latching onto and just being fascinated by the way that it was shot. But I would argue that this is actually the most tonally similar to Band of Brothers that this series has been so far, because you didn't get a moment. It was just this constant barrage, in the same way that The Flak is a constant barrage. It was just this constant that you didn't even have a chance to properly process the emotion until it goes quiet, until the very end when all the chaos has stopped and we're back in the quiet and we're finally given a moment to breathe, and we're now taking stock of how many men didn't come back, and that Crosby just lost his best friend who he gave the lucky snow globe back to, and him realizing that that was almost him. If he hadn't been promoted, that would have been him. He would have died. He would have been lost. And so that makes that final shot of him right before the intro so much more interesting, because that was very odd. That was a very jarring, it was a very strange ending to the cold open going into the intro. We've always sort of had these sort of smooth, dramatic ends going into the title sequence. And that just felt so mundane almost, and so simple. And that's the point. Because now with the context of knowing him being in that office, him being promoted, and him in that position is the only thing that stopped him from dying in this episode. And so it looks completely different now going back to it, and you realize the weight of that moment that didn't quite hit the first time you see it. It's just like, okay, he's standing in the office, cool, fish out of water, cool, great, awesome. Kind of a letdown going into the title sequence, but looking at it now from the perspective of that's the only reason he survived, it holds so much more weight. So yeah, I'm sure there are many things that I wanted to talk about or that I thought about that I didn't get to address here. I do think that Crosby has, again, I mentioned this, I do think Crosby has lost a little bit of weight. And I think it's showing in his face, and it's either the actor has lost weight over the course of filming, or they're enhancing sort of the shadows in his face with the makeup, or the way that they're shooting it. But I think it is really meant to show that he, particularly as the narrator, kind of started off as this baby-faced kid who was getting airsick and struggling, who literally flew them to France on accident. And this evolution of him becoming such a great navigator and so well respected that they promote him, but by that point he has experienced how many missions, and he is weathered, and he's battered, and he loses his best friend in this, and we lose everything in this episode. And so for that to be reflected in his physicality and the way that he looks and the sort of deterioration of his physicality, that was a fascinating detail. So yeah, anyway, I've been just going and rambling, and I know. I'm sorry. I'm just not shutting up. But this was such a meaty episode cinematically, and it complemented how heavy and intense it was thematically and dramatically and as far as story. But I'm just sitting here and my brain claws are like, there's so much to talk about. This is so great. This is so much fun. So anyway, yeah, this is a weird experience. This is a weird, like, emotional, just nervous nerd. I was a nervous nerd. Yeah, no, I was a nervous nerd for this episode. And I could ramble on and on and on about this for a long time, but I'm going to leave it there because I don't know how long I've been talking, but probably for too long. So anyway, please don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it. Drop me a comment. Let me know your thoughts on this episode, on this series. We are halfway through. What do you think is going to happen going forward? How do you feel about these potential misdirects? I'm very, very curious. Redder is better, so hit what may or may not be a big red subscribe button depending on your browser, and check me out on Patreon for the full-length version of this reaction as well as all of my other content. If you want to hear more of my ramblings and comments throughout, then that's where you want to go. Links to my Instagram and other socials are in the description box below. So with all of that out of the way, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all of you, and I will see you on the next one.